You write down when you get that phone call from different hospitals, different doctors, all of those things. And she's like, he's kind of put the role of care on your back. That was the sign there. I knew that I had to actually pay attention. Okay. Hi, my name is Chantal, and I'm squeezed and blessed. I am fortunate to have 3 children and have 2 in-laws. I've lost my 2 parents, and going through that, I was in the thick of the sandwich years. A lot of people don't really understand the sandwich years until you're in it. You don't get training for it. For me, it was tricky. When my dad, first and foremost, started getting ill, he had prostate cancer. When he was first diagnosed, I was actually laid off of work, and I was starting my own business. Starting my own business, I was able to take him to all his doctor's appointments. I have siblings, and my siblings were really grateful for the fact, as well as myself, that I had more flexibility. However, I did need something consistent, so I ended up going back to work. Going back to work and having an ailing father was hard. I don't know if anybody else has gone through it, which I think people have, where you have the phone ringing and you're in a conference call. And you're sort of sitting there struggling to sit there and go, how do I answer the call? Because I know it's the home, and pay attention to work at the same time. Or sit there and come off camera, or come off, mute yourself so you can say, is he still okay? I had to do that plenty of times, and grateful for where I worked, because there were a lot of people there who was able to help me and sort of guide me through that piece. There's so much guilt that I went through with him being ill and just trying to manage. And luckily at that time, my mom was well. My mom was a nurse, and so she was able to guide me through and tell me certain things. I think some of the times, for my dad at least, he decided, and my parents were separated. So at the end of the day, my sister said it really well, where she sort of said, as people get older, the hope is that after married, they stay together so they can help take care of each other. When they split, then it's almost like that's when, I guess, the kids have to act even harder, because they actually have to take care of them on their separate terms. Anyways, we digress, and a call from the home asking me if my father had a shot, if he got the flu shot. And I said, I'm not sure, but my father was he had all his wits. And I said, well, why don't you ask him? And they said, funny, he told us to call you. And I said, oh my. I was just sort of sitting there going, oh, okay. I'm not really sure. I guess I got to call the doctor and find out. I said, do you have the doctor's name on file? And they're like, yeah, but you have to go and find this out. So I ended up calling my mother, who was divorced from him. And she sort of said to me, she goes, why is he telling them to call you? And I said, I'm not really sure. And she's like, he's kind of put the role of care on your back. That was the sign there. I knew that I had to actually pay attention. It was tricky, because for me, I had my kids that I had to pay attention to, my own health care that I had to worry about, my husband's, and now I have to care about my parents as well. So that was some of the stories, lots of stories combined. I think one of the things that I wasn't aware of or prepared for was my mom getting sick while my dad was living with his prostate cancer, and my mom passing away before my dad did. So when my mom was sick, that was at the tail end of the COVID shutdown. She was actually at the hospital and passed away at the hospital she was at the hospital for months. And so we had to kind of navigate that, and navigating what can and cannot be done during COVID, which all of us knew. It was very tricky because we all did it together and they learned everything together. at the end of the day, very, very hard to deal with. And then, so my mom ended up outliving my dad. My dad, they gave a year to live. He lived for 3. My mom didn't anticipate her passing at all. And I'm going to be quite honest. I was devastated when she passed. I felt like my legs were kicked out from underneath me, because she was the person for me to help me through the sandwich years, as well as with my dad, but also with my kids. So some of the things that I would have learned from her in raising my kids, I didn't have the opportunity to. Fortunately enough, I have in-laws. Unfortunately enough, when my mom was dying, my mother-in-law's dementia went into overdrive. So that put me and my husband kind of dividing each other to conquer and help both parents. So it was quite tricky. Fortunately, my father-in-law was a very good source of support for me all throughout, including the kids. So very blessed in that side. So my story, you're going to hear all of the intricate, fun, sad moments as I interviewed other people and help them tell their stories. Looking forward to this journey, and looking forward to giving some tips throughout the process. One of the clear tips that I have to give you if you're just entering this and your parents are becoming a little bit dependent on you is get a notebook. Make sure you write down when you get that phone call from different hospitals, different doctors, all of those things, the date, the doctor you're talking to. They will all come to you at different points, and they're really trying to help you. But at the end of the day, if you don't document it, you won't be able to keep everything straight. So get that, and have that tip, have that book available to you at all times. Stay tuned for more, because I will give you more tips and more stories as we go through. But yeah, sandwich years, I'm going to be honest, it's tricky. If you have support, kudos to you. If you don't have support, I'm hoping that you'll get some through this. Thank you.